So what did I just read? Seriously, this was a colossal chaos. I thought it was going to be a little bit more serious, a little bit more relatable being from an Asian background, but not quite. Hi peeps, welcome to my channel. My name is Janet. Today is not going to be a long review because this book is not that serious, so we can get this over and done with quite quickly. I am going to be talking to you about the book called Dull A for Auntie by Jessie Q. Sutanto, I think her name is, and I believe hands down this is probably one of the most unhinged books I've read this year. Like, imagine if you took Crazy Rich Asians, the movie Weekend at Bernie's. For those of you who are too young to know what that is go Google it, read it up, but it is very much got that vibe, and you mix it a little bit with How to Get Away with Murder. All together it creates this love child called Dull A for Auntie. So let's get into the story. You start with our main FMC, the female lead, Madeline Chan. I think her name was meant to be Madeline, but as you know, immigrant parents, same as mine, sometimes the spelling gets a little bit awry, and being their second language, so just to go with close enough is good enough. So she ends up being Madeline Chan rather than Madeline, but I will call her Medi for the rest of this review to make life easier for myself for pronunciation purposes. She is a dutiful Asian daughter. Like most Asian daughters, they, stick with the family, they are respectful, they listen to their mothers, and in this case, not only their mothers, but her other three sisters. And they all sort of live near or close by to each other and are in each other's lives all the time. And why is it just the four ladies and herself? Well, it turns out that the Chan family, this family in particular, are cursed, and all men just disappear, whether they're husbands, their sons, their boyfriends, poof, like a terrible Wi-Fi connection, it just drops out and then it's never to be seen again. In most cases, I think something like this is not really based on any facts, but actually some superstitions of the Asian aunties that they are cursed because they can't seem to be keeping their man. So as I said, because Medi is a certified good daughter, a good Asian daughter, she gives up her one true love that she met in college. His name is Nathan. He's definitely a sweetheart. They started from friends, they've gone to lovers. At the end of graduation, Nathan gets a job offer, which means he has to move to New York. But that's not why they broke up. It's because Nathan actually asked Medi to move with him to New York, and she's can't sort of leave her mother. And rather than, I guess, discussing it like a normal human being as an adult to adult and try to come up with a solution, she just says, no, can't do it. Let's break up. I've had enough. It's time to move on. And it's a little bit tragic. It's a little bit heartbreaking. Maybe it's a noble action for Medi's part, but it's probably unnecessary. But of course, this is a classic rom-com logic, so let's go with it and continue on. At the end of the day, she did what she thought was right. She did it for her family to stay with her mom, and she also did it for Nathan because she thought if she was to tell him that she can't leave her mom to leave to New York, he might then decline the job and decide to stay with her and then give up his dream job for her and stay in California, which is where she is now. Now let's flash forward 4 years later, and you find out that she is a wedding photographer working in the family business. So all the aunties and her mum have gone together and they've decided that they're going to go into the wedding business because they are skillful at it, and rightly so. They all individually have skills that can be brought to creating the perfect wedding for whoever wants to hire them. We're introduced to auntie number one, who does the cakes for weddings, ex-baker who is great at making exaggerated and very chic sort of wedding cakes. Then you have auntie number two, who does all the makeup. And then you have auntie number three, which is Medi's mum, who does the flower arrangements, the bouquets, and makes it all very beautiful. And then you have auntie number four, who is a little bit of a showboat. They're probably the most glam and beautiful of all the aunties, and she is the wedding singer, so the entertainment for the day or for the reception night. And every Sunday, these gals will get together at yum cha or dim sum, as they say it in America, and they sit around having, hargal and or chicken feet, whatever you're eating at Yamcha, and they bicker in English, Mandarin, and Indonesian because that's what they are. They are Chinese Indonesians and they live in America. So of course there is English mixed in with it, just like me and my family. We are Chinese Australians. So therefore we are also speaking always in a mixture of English and Chinese, which is very relatable in this instance, except I don't have the third language in there thrown in altogether. But it is a full bickering affair, a little bit passive aggressive at times when they are speaking towards each other, because obviously with sisters, there is a little bit of bickering and of course there is business talk. But despite all the bickering and passive aggressive digs that they might have with each other, especially between, certain sisters, they do run a very successful business. And because they have been doing a great job, they have been now hired for the biggest wedding of their careers. Very much that glitzy couple from Crazy Rich Asians, which is why I said it has that vibe. The couple is rich, they have unlimited resources, and they want the best and biggest wedding of all time. And this amazing wedding is going to be located at a fancy remote resort located on some secluded island the next day. And of course, nothing is going to go wrong at an island that is secluded from everything else, as we know from watching any sort of slasher movies or any sort of disaster movies that is bound to create and guarantee some chaos for yourself. Now, before they get into the chaos of the wedding and start planning for it, Medi's mum says she has something to confess. Medi's mum has been catfishing a guy online using Medi's photos for the last X amount of months. And she has now set her up on a blind date, and that is going to occur that night before the biggest wedding give of their career. But more on that later, on the wedding anyway. So instead of Medi running for the heels or doing what I would do is simply just to say, no, that is goofy, I can find my own dates, or I don't want to do this, especially since I have to work the next day, she agrees and she says, sure, why not? Give it a go. Unfortunately, though, the guy turns out to be a creepy dude who is very handsy. And somehow, while he's being handsy and driving a vehicle, she, accidentally kills him. I would say is self-defense, but still now you've got a dead dude and you've put him in the trunk. So what do you do? Normal cases, you would call the cops and claim self-defense and go from there. No, before she calls the cops, she calls her mum. And what does her mum suggest? Not to call the cops and do what I just said you should do. She says, come over right now. I've called the aunties and I need you to cut up some fruit, because priorities, right? You've got a dead person in your trunk, but you can't not serve food if you're inviting people over to your house, because that is not polite and that is not the Asian way, which I totally sort of kind of understand. I mean, not in this scenario, this is kind of goofy, but I do understand that if you're going to invite people over, you should definitely serve tea and fruit and snacks. Now all the aunties are at Medi's mum's house and they are scheming to hide this dead body and work out what to do with it. But it is late in the night and their wedding gig is almost about to happen. So they quickly try to store it away. But one thing leads to another, and this body unfortunately ends up showing up at the luxury wedding the next day with them on this remote island where you need to catch a boat to get to and fro. And what do you do? But wait, there's another twist to the story. So instead of just having to deal with, running this wedding and also making sure nobody discovers this body, you find out that the resort is actually the property of Nathan. So remember Nathan, the golden retriever from college that Medi loved but had to walk away from? Well, he's there and he's the owner of this whole resort, who is apparently still single, still super hot, and has been pining for our dear Medi this whole time. He's been described in the book as a hot, shirtless Daniel Henney mixed with Louis Tan. Fever dreams, right? Even though if you look at those two boys individually, they are both very hot in their own right. But this guy is so hot that he's a mixture of them two together, like the best bits of them, dreamboat the whole time. So why would you run away? Why would you even decide not to move to New York with him? Who cares? Let's get on with the story, because the plot, it is unhinged. There is romance and it's super cute. The aunties are equally adorable at times, but also criminally chaotic. If my Asian aunties were trying to hide a body for me, I'll tell you, there'll be no jokes, there'll be no bickering, because they are very much just get bleach, pray, and efficiently get rid of the body ASAP. But these aunties, they're not like that, because this is a book after all. In reality, Asian aunties, much more efficient than these aunties in this book. Was this a little bit stupid? Yes. Was it over the top? Absolutely. Did I keep reading? Yes, because I needed to know how Maddie and her aunties were going to get out of this, and also how was she going to get this man? And you knew, because it was a rom-com with crime, that there was going to be some sort of a happy ending, I believed. If you like messy, if you like loud, and if you like ridiculous and you're not expecting anything too seriously, then I think give this book a try, because it is kind of fun. At the end of the day, even though it was ridiculous, I still had a good time, and I rated this book 3 out of 5 stars. But do prepare for a bit of cringiness, not the cleverest plot lines, not the cleverest lines and character development, but it is a definitely entertaining ride. Just go into it expecting that, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. If you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it. If you haven't and I've enticed you, tell me why. And also let me know how you feel after you read the book. If you enjoy these sort of crazy little reviews, please, as always, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.